How's it, everybody? I'm up here on the farm on a beautiful day. It's day to look at some vineyards, so I thought we'd go into the vines and chat a bit about the difference between different cultivars, but with a specific focus on Mourvèdre, also known as Mourvèdre or Mourvèdre or Mataro, depending on where you are in the world. And so I've got three different cultivars in my hand, three different bunches, and I thought I'd just show you quickly what they look like and just how you kind of start to identify different cultivars, and it kind of explains a little bit about the reason why each grape variety has its own temperament, taste and kind of nature in it. You know, this is a Pinotage bunch. This bunch is from a vine that is as old as I am. It's tiny, it's very compact, it's got a couple of little shriveled berries in between, but that's just because the bunch is so tight and the berries push each other off. The other thing about Pinotage, it has this kind of beautiful oval kind of berry, and these vines have the kind of signature of them, especially with these old vines, is the thick skin of the berries. It's really juicy, it's got a lovely mulberry kind of fruitiness to it, great acidity, but the skin is the real indicator for me. And we're almost ready to pick this. We're going to probably pick it on Tuesday next week, and yeah, it's really tasting fantastic. It's just on the kind of turning of the skins starting to go soft, but there's lovely tannin in there. So Pinotage, super compact, short little small bunch. Then I've got this one here. This is an unusual grape as well. This is Petit Verdot. You don't see it a lot. Tiny little round berries, like almost marble like. They're so perfectly round, and the thing with Petit Verdot, this is probably the last cultivar to be harvested, this and Mourvèdre, and it's a blending grape, primarily used in Bordeaux style blends. Here I use a little bit in Vitruvian. It's got incredible color, and it's got incredible acidity even when it's fully ripe, so that's the great thing about it. Like right now, super tart, bit of sweetness, thick skins, not much juice, but that's because the berries are so small. And I'm going to do something pretty disgusting, but it's really important. It's kind of an indicator. That's the color of the juice, so it's not ready yet. When Petit Verdot is ready, that juice is completely dark, so that what I spit out is completely black. And then here, very similar in terms of shape, I've got a Mourvèdre bunch. And this is a really beautiful bunch. The berries are not too small. Sometimes with Mourvèdre you can have bigger berries, but they're very much the same size as Petit Verdot. Very similar shape, so round as well. But when you pull them off, they start to split immediately. That's one indicator. They almost hold on to the bunch harder than any other grape. That's also because they're not ready yet, so the berries are not ripe. This is still it's about 20 baling, or yeah, it's probably got another week and a half to go before it's ripe. And then there's some interesting indicators with Mourvèdre. It frustrates a lot of growers as to when to pick Mourvèdre and how to get it right. When you look at the berries, obviously you do an analysis of the juice, and that'll give you an indication of the ripeness level. But I always go into the vineyard and have a look at the actual berry themselves and squeeze out the flesh. And when you squeeze out the flesh, you see this the seed still sitting in the pulp. It's not actually breaking loose from the pulp, and there's just one big seed. It's starting to turn brown, which is a good indicator of ripeness, but it's just one big seed. It's really typical of Mourvèdre. It doesn't have a lot of seeds in the berries, and there isn't a lot of space for it, so you generally only get one. There's another one, that one's also nice and brown now, so that one's definitely more mature. It will be, so it's difficult to see, but kind of sticky things. It's a little bit more brown, so this is definitely more mature. So you've got quite varying ripeness levels. The ripeness will vary from the top of the bunch to the bottom of the bunch, with riper berries being up top here and greener berries being down the bottom. That's just the natural flow. Super kind of easy grape to work with because the berries are quite nicely spaced out. They're not as compact as Pinotage. They're a bit looser. Not as loose as Petit Verdot, but so that it doesn't rot in the same way. So Pinotage is much more like Pinot Noir, very prone to botrytis, to rot when you got those kind of humid conditions. Mourvèdre is looser, and that gives it a bit more resistance. And then I always go and taste the berries, like I have done with the other two. And last night we got a small bin of Mourvèdre that's fermenting, and I actually said to Jen, who's filming here, I said, taste the skin, and you kind of get this, once you chew through the skin, you get this kind of green, kind of slightly herbal, kind of like chewing a leaf taste, which is very typical of Mourvèdre. It's almost a signature for me of the grape. It doesn't give you like berry fruitiness. It's kind of got a little bit of pulp, a little bit of juice, and this kind of leafy greenness in the skins. Obviously they're not ripe yet, so they're not quite there, and so that greenness is kind of comes through a bit more intensely. So we got to leave it to hang. Also probably another 2 weeks, and then it should start to get a bit more berry fruit, sometimes like a sour cherry plum kind of flavor. And then in the winemaking, obviously you get quite a spectrum of different flavors developing. Can be quite like herbaceous, can be meaty in some vintages. It can be yeah, kind of sour plums, those kind of characters, depending on the level of ripeness. I'm not aiming to ripen these like super high sugars. Already, if you look at the vines, the leaves are taking strain, so there's a bit of dryness, drought kind of conditions that are kind of affecting it. But that's fine. The vines can hang. They're healthy. The grapes are sitting here, just slowly building up some sugars. It's pretty cool conditions. So we've had probably one of the coolest harvests in, I would say, in the last 10 years. This year. So in terms of summer heat, there really haven't been too many hot days, and we had some rain this week, and that's helped to just give the vines a little bit more moisture, just to slowly let them build up the sugars. They might build them up a bit quicker, but it wasn't a lot of rain. It won't cause a lot of rot. I know some of the other regions around me had a lot more rain, but there's an old saying in Mourvèdre that the old people say, that Mourvèdre has this bubble of fat over it, which means that it rains pretty much everywhere else. It stays nice and cool here, but we don't get that kind of rain out of the northwest, which is where the storm came from, which is a kind of a winter storm. It's still late summer here, but that's the beauty of Mourvèdre. You get the coolness, but sometimes the dryness in harvest time, which is really critical. You don't want to have too much rain at this time. So yeah, Mourvèdre, I love it. It's got this really upright growing method. It's got nice bunches. It's not overcropped. It's not undercropped. And these vines are about, they're nearly 20 years. They're actually 20 years old this year. 2001 planted. So really mature. I've got to work on them a little bit. There's some viticultural stuff that I need to work on here. But I'm super happy. This makes up the core of Beaumont Mourvèdre, and we've got a great example of it in bottle at the moment. We've just released the 2017, and I'm going off to meet with the label printers this afternoon, and we have decided on a new name for our Mourvèdre. And kind of behind us over here in the distance, there's a little surf break that I have grown up surfing since about the age of 9. It's called Onrus Beach, and Onrus Beach there's actually quite a collection of winemakers hanging out there, living there these days. All those kind of virtual winemakers, they live off the farm, but they make awesome wines somewhere else, and it's a little dig at them. But there's a whole collection. My release from my mentor, Chris Arlight, John Seckham, who else is there? There's a whole Peter Allen Finnerson from across the road. Him and they live there. So there's this awesome collection of winemakers. But there's probably because there's this magnificent surf break, and the right-hand side of the beach is known as Onrus Main Beach. But very often in the summer, when you go down to the beach and you try and see whether there's a wave, you have to walk across the beach right to the far side of the beach. And the Johnson boys and myself we think termed the phrase the far side for our favorite break. And when all the kind of tourists come down to surf there, they don't realize that the really great wave on the far side of the beach is actually the best wave to surf. And it's a little right-hander on a sandbank that is kind of a little bit fickle, but when it's on, it's just one of those magical early morning surf breaks that you get this little crosswind blowing from the land onto the ocean, and it just causes this little perfect break there. And yeah, so I've decided to name Mourvèdre, Beaumont Mourvèdre 2017, the Far Side Mourvèdre, or just Far Side Mourvèdre, because of this kind of connection to the ocean. I think also because Mourvèdre is a little bit on the other side, the far side. It's a little bit quirky. It's not easily understood. It's not super charming necessarily to people who want fruitiness and kind of that kind of very obvious character out of a wine. Mourvèdre is more subtle, more herbaceous, more kind of unusual in terms of its flavor spectrum. It's also got this fantastic tannin structure that's like powdery and fine grained. And then the old French saying is that Mourvèdre needs to be planted somewhere where it has its head in the sun, which we have in Mourvèdre, with beautiful dry but kind of windy conditions. We've got these lovely shale soils down here with deep clay underneath them, and that keeps the roots moist and allows the grape to ripen late into the season, and because it is a late ripening grape. And then it's about 12 kilometers south from here is the ocean, and Mourvèdre traditionally is planted all along the coast, whether you find it in France or in Bandol or in Spain, from kind of Barcelona all the way down to Alicante, and in California I know it's planted along the coast there. So pretty much everywhere in the world where you find it and where you find really great Mourvèdre, it's got its head in the sun, its feet in cool soil, and has a view of the sea. So we're just behind the sea here, and if you had to just put a periscope up, we'd be able to see the ocean. The Mourvèdre Lagoon runs down there, and and I think we're in a special place for growing this grape, and the proof is in the wine. So get hold of a bottle of Beaumont Mourvèdre and try it out. It'll be known as the Far Side Mourvèdre soon. So cheers, I hope you enjoy.